She's lost or something. That's what one man muttered as she stepped into the gun store alone, silent in old boots and a faded jacket. Another laughed. You here to buy pink ammo? She said nothing. Brows raised, jokes flew. But when the store owner looked up and saw her face, he froze mid-sentence, then stood slowly and saluted. The laughter died instantly, because now they knew. If you've ever seen respect snap into place, type she earned it. It was a typically quiet weekday afternoon in a small-town gun store mostly filled with familiar regulars, weathered veterans, sharing war stories, dedicated hunters discussing upcoming seasons, and a couple of weekend warriors examining tactical gear they'd probably never use in actual combat situations. The brass door chime rang clearly as she entered the establishment, short hair tucked neatly under a faded military-style cap, worn leather boots that had obviously seen serious use, and a thick manila folder tucked securely under her left arm. The assembled room glanced in her direction briefly, then collectively dismissed her presence as unremarkable. Ma'am, the post office is located 2 doors down, someone offered with condescending helpfulness. Another middle-aged man snorted with obvious amusement. Maybe she's picking something up for her boyfriend or husband. She didn't flinch at their assumptions, didn't force a polite smile. Just walked purposefully toward the display wall, her experienced eyes methodically scanning each rifle without saying a single word. Behind the glass counter, the store owner was deep into an animated story about range performance statistics. Loud theatrical laughing heartily with his regular customers who hung on every exaggerated detail. One curious customer leaned toward her with patronizing friendliness. What exactly are you looking for today? Something easy to carry, something lightweight for small game. She studied the .308 Winchester mounted prominently on the wall, then shifted her attention to the .338 Lapua Magnum positioned beside it. That one, she said softly, pointing decisively. A burly guy nearby laughed with obvious condescension. That's probably a little much for someone like you, isn't it? She simply nodded toward the specification tag and asked with quiet precision. Range says, on 500 meters effective. Is that factory verified or field tested? That technical question got their undivided attention. The guy behind the counter smirked with growing amusement. Why are you planning to shoot clear across the county line? She opened her manila folder carefully. Inside were old military service papers worn from years of handling, but still completely intact. She didn't display them yet, just waited patiently. Someone scoffed with increasing mockery. Oh, come on! What's actually in there? Your father's old discharge file. The tone in the room was becoming sharper, more mocking, but she never flinched or showed any emotional reaction. Other customers began joining the impromptu entertainment, making assumptions about her capabilities based entirely on her gender and civilian appearance. Bet she's never fired anything bigger than a .22, one hunter whispered to his companion. Probably thinks the safety is for decoration, another added with cruel humor. She continued studying the rifle specifications with professional interest, completely ignoring their escalating ridicule. The store owner was still engaged in his storytelling, oblivious to the developing situation near his display wall. Look, lady, the condescending customer continued. Maybe you'd be more comfortable with something in the beginner section. We have some nice pink options. Laughter rippled through the friend group. She closed her folder temporarily and looked directly at the rifle again. Muzzle velocity? She asked simply. The question was technical enough to surprise them, but they assumed she was just repeating specifications she'd read online. About 2,900 feet per second, someone answered dismissively. But you probably don't need to worry about those kinds of details. She nodded once, absorbing the information, then reopened her folder to a specific page. The conversation in the room continued around her, but she had stopped listening to their assumptions. She was studying the rifle with the focused attention of someone who understood exactly what she was examining and why she needed it. The store owner, still mid-sentence in his animated range story, happened to glance down casually at the open folder as she flipped through the official documentation. First page, a formal citation for distinguished service under hostile fire. Second page, a personal commendation letter from a now-retired 3-star general. Third page, a grainy black and white photograph of a 2-person sniper team positioned in Afghanistan's mountainous terrain, her face clearly visible despite the tactical gear. Then he saw the unit patch. His animated smile vanished completely. "Gentlemen," he said firmly, interrupting his own story mid-sentence, "this woman isn't here to browse our beginner selection." He stepped deliberately out from behind the protective glass counter, and without a single word of explanation stood tall at attention and rendered a crisp military salute. Complete silence. Sharp, absolute silence that cut through the room like a blade. Every man in the store turned to look again. Really looked this time, seeing her with completely different eyes. The younger customer who had mocked her swallowed hard with obvious embarrassment. "Ma'am, I'm genuinely sorry for my assumptions." She nodded once in acknowledgement, but didn't waste words on their apologies. The man who had offered to help her find something lightweight, he stepped back respectfully, understanding his error. "You were Ghost Division, weren't you?" the store owner said with growing recognition. She didn't answer immediately, just closed the folder with deliberate care. "I remember you now," he continued with obvious respect. "We coordinated Overwatch operations out of Forward Operating Base Herat. You provided sniper coverage for our convoy when everyone else abandoned the mission." Her eyes finally met his directly. "I remember that operation. You lost 2 transport trucks." "Yeah, we did," he confirmed grimly. "But not the last one carrying wounded personnel, because of your precision fire." She pointed to the rifle mounted on the wall again. "Is the scope factory zeroed or field adjusted?" "It will be perfectly zeroed to your specifications if I made me the worm," the owner replied with complete sincerity. The atmosphere in the room had transformed completely. Respectful silence replaced mocking laughter. Genuine curiosity replaced condescending assumptions. The customers who had dismissed her now studied her with the recognition that they were in the presence of someone whose service record far exceeded their own experiences. "How many confirmed kills?" someone asked quietly, then immediately regretted the inappropriate question. She looked at him steadily. "Enough to complete every mission assigned." Her answer was professional, neither boastful nor apologetic. The store owner carefully removed the .338 Lapua from its wall mount and placed it reverently on the counter. "This weapon system is yours if you want it. I'll mark it as reserved until you're ready for pickup. You just tell me when you want to conduct your sight-in procedures." "I'll handle the zeroing myself," she said with quiet confidence. Like always. One veteran customer approached her carefully. "Do you ever conduct training for civilians?" She paused, considering the question. "Sometimes, but only for those who stop talking long enough to actually listen." That comment earned a few respectful chuckles, but not one inappropriate joke. Someone offered to carry her equipment case to her vehicle. She declined politely, but firmly. "I carried gear weighing considerably more than that through Afghan desert sand," she said softly. "I can manage." As she prepared to leave, the room naturally parted without needing to be asked. No one laughed anymore. The jokes had died permanently, because they understood now that they were in the presence of someone who had earned respect through actions, not words. The younger customers began asking questions with genuine reverence. Instead of sarcastic mockery, their entire demeanor transformed by understanding. "Is it actually true that you were embedded alone in the mountain regions?" one asked with obvious respect. "Did you really achieve a confirmed kill at 1,470 meters in combat conditions?" Another inquired carefully. She didn't engage in boastful storytelling, just answered with short, precise nods when questions deserved acknowledgement. "How long were you deployed in that operational area?" someone asked with genuine curiosity. "Long enough to complete the mission," she said simply. "Too long sometimes for personal comfort." The store owner carefully brought the expensive rifle down from its display position and placed it ceremoniously on the counter before her. "This weapon system is yours at cost. I'll mark it as permanently reserved under your designation. You just tell me when you want to conduct sight-in procedures." "I'll handle the zeroing process myself," she said with quiet confidence. "Like I always have." One respectful customer approached her position carefully. "Do you ever provide marksmanship training for civilian shooters?" She paused thoughtfully, considering the request. "Sometimes for serious students, but only those who stop talking long enough to actually listen and learn." That comment earned several respectful chuckles from the assembled group, But not one inappropriate joke remained. Her reputation was spreading through whispered conversations among the regular customers. "She's the real deal," someone murmured. "Combat tested under the worst possible conditions." Others shared fragments of stories they'd heard about Ghost Division operations, legendary missions that officially never happened. Someone offered to carry her equipment case to her vehicle in the parking lot. She declined the assistance politely but firmly. "I carried tactical gear weighing considerably more than that through Afghan desert sand for months," she said softly. "I can manage this." The respect in the room was palpable, replacing the earlier mockery completely. Customers who had dismissed her as an amateur now sought her opinion on equipment selections. "What's your assessment of the new Schmidt and Bender optics?" one asked seriously. "Reliable," she answered, "but I prefer simpler systems that function under extreme conditions." Her answers were professional, technical, and informed by actual combat experience. The store owner began sharing details about her service record that he remembered from military networks. "She operated alone for weeks in hostile territory," he explained to the younger customers, "providing intelligence and precision fire support for multiple units." "How many lives did she save?" someone asked with obvious admiration. "More than we'll ever know," the owner replied, "because the best sniper operations are the ones nobody talks about." She collected her folder and prepared to leave the establishment. As she moved toward the door, the room naturally parted to create a clear path. No one blocked her way. No one made jokes. No one questioned her capabilities. The transformation was complete. "Ma'am," the store owner called after her, "it's been an honor." She turned back briefly. The honor was serving, then walked out into the afternoon sunlight. The door chime rang as she departed, but the impact of her presence lingered. Customers remained in respectful silence for several minutes after her exit. Finally, someone spoke quietly. "We just met a genuine American hero." Others nodded in agreement. The store owner returned the rifle to its display position, but marked it with a small brass nameplate, "Reserved for Echo 7." Her call sign would remain there permanently, a reminder to future customers that some people have earned respect through service that goes far beyond civilian understanding, and that assumptions about capability based on appearance can be dangerously wrong. Days later, her name still circulated throughout the small gun store, but now only in whispered conversations filled with genuine awe and respect. A small brass plaque appeared mysteriously near the back shooting range, "Reserved for Echo 7, thus active service awesome." The store owner kept her military service papers secured in his personal safe, not for security purposes, but out of profound respect for her documented achievements. When new customers made inappropriate jokes about lady shooters or questioned women's capabilities with firearms, the regular patrons didn't bother correcting them verbally, they just pointed silently to the back wall display. The exact spot where she had stood during her visit now remained respectfully open, like no one dared occupy that space unless specifically invited. And outside in the parking lot, every now and then, someone would observe her across the asphalt, skillfully handling the same rifle that other experienced shooters struggled to aim accurately. But no one ever attempted to condescend to her again, because the crisp military salute still echoed louder than any gunshot. Word of the encounter spread through the veteran community like wildfire. Other gun stores in the region began asking about the woman from Ghost Division who had visited their competitor. Military forums online buzzed with speculation about Echo 7's current activities and location, but she remained elusive, appearing only when necessary for equipment or ammunition purchases. Her reputation preceded her now at every establishment she entered. Store owners would recognize her immediately and provide exceptional service without question. Other customers would step aside respectfully, understanding they were in the presence of someone whose service record far exceeded their own experiences. The younger generation of gun enthusiasts began asking veterans about Ghost Division operations. What made them so special? They would inquire with genuine curiosity. They operated alone in impossible conditions, came the standard response. And they never missed when it mattered. Training facilities started offering courses based on her documented techniques, but none could replicate the experience that came from actual combat deployment. She occasionally accepted invitations to speak at veteran events, though she preferred to remain private. When she did appear, her presentations were technical, professional, and understated. No dramatic war stories, no emotional appeals, just facts and tactical analysis. Precision shooting is 90% mental preparation, she would explain. The physical mechanics can be taught to anyone with dedication. Her teaching methods emphasize patience over aggression, preparation over reaction. Students who trained under her guidance showed remarkable improvement in both accuracy and decision-making capabilities. But she remained selective about who received her instruction. I only work with serious students, she explained, people who understand that marksmanship is a responsibility, not a game. Gun manufacturers began requesting her evaluation of new weapon systems. Her endorsement carried significant weight in the tactical community, but she remained selective about which products earned her approval. I only recommend equipment I would trust with my life, became her standard response. Years later, the small-town gun store would become something of a pilgrimage site for serious marksmen. They would come to see where Echo 7 had stood, hoping to absorb some of her legendary skill through proximity. The store owner would tell the story countless times, but it never lost its impact. She walked in like any other customer, he would conclude, but she walked out as a legend. The brass nameplate remained permanently mounted near the rifle display, a reminder that real heroes often appear in the most ordinary circumstances, and that respect must be earned through actions, not assumptions. If you've ever seen a room shift from mockery to honor, subscribe to Steel Heart Stories.